All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. Hope you're enjoying your week. Hope you're enjoying jazzy tunes and our newest intro here. I love it. Dave loves it. We're just both bopping to it over here. And as always, appreciate everybody for coming through, listening, clicking play wherever you click play, wherever you click play from. Before we get going and doing anything here, I want to remind everybody, if you enjoy what you hear on a week-to-week basis on the Alex Cuesta Show, if you enjoy what you hear on a day-to-day basis on the Alex Cuesta Daily Show, give us a like, follow, share, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and word of mouth. Tell everyone, like, hey, psychos, listen to more psychos and talk about psycho shit because it's fun. So social media, as always, none of you deserve it. So you're not getting it. Go search on my name, Alex Cuesta, Cuesta show. You'll find it on anywhere you can find social medias. We're on TikTok. I haven't done shit there yet because I don't like China, but I'm going to start possibly using it because I don't know. It seems like you youngins like your TikToks. So I got to use the TikToks. How about that, Dave? Is that okay? How are you, Dave? You're there.
That's not okay. That's not okay at all.
You don't like
I'm not okay
TikToks?
now. No.
The suns and the TikToks on the interwebs. How are you over there, Dave? How is everything going? You have a nice shiner on your face that I can see. It's
I know.
thing. You got punched in the face.
No.
Did that gorilla escape from the zoo and punch you?
I didn't block well enough. That's the problem.
Dodge. That's a joke.
It happens.
Only the chosen brilliant few will understand that one. All right. So today we have another fun show, as we always have in front of us, where David and I just get to rant, rave, talk about things. We have a main topic here for you, but we have to touch on one because it's rather outrageous but predictable, I want to say. So if you are somebody that watches Four Morons and Potentially a Brain, better known as The View, because they always
don't even know if there's potential.
They have like a semi-conservative since they let Elizabeth Hasselbeck go, who was a legitimate conservative and actually fought with all of them and proved them wrong on a daily basis about quite literally everything. They had Cindy McCain, and Cindy McCain is a moron. And is she still there? I don't know if Cindy's left or not. I don't know who they have.
I don't know.
As their token conservative right now. I might look that up. Who is the token conservative on The View? That might actually be what I search because I guarantee it will show up. But on the most recent yesterday, I don't know if they did an episode today. They did without Whoopi. They do it every day. But on yesterday's episode of The View, Whoopi Goldberg decided that it would be a good idea to say that the Holocaust had nothing to do with race, and it was white on white crime. Now, not only is Whoopi Goldberg a known moron, this now proves that she is a complete and total anti-Semite. Because let's break down a few points here real quick, Dave, about what she said and why it's stupid. One, it was not about race. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Whoopi. Pick up Mein Kampf and read it. You would probably enjoy it because you're a leftist, first of all. But pick up Mein Kampf and read it. Hitler, who is the person that, I don't know if you know this, Miss Goldberg, that he's the one that had the Holocaust happen. He's the reason it happened. He did it. And he specifically says in Mein Kampf that calling Jews a religion is not right. It is not correct. He specifically said they are not a religion. They are a race. That man looked at them as a race. Therefore, and I'm not gonna lie, still a lot of people to this day, we refer to the Jews as their own demographic. They're the only religion that has their own demographic of being, Jews. They're Jewish. So yes, it was about race, number one. Number two, what an idiot you are calling it white on white crime. The Jews originated in the Middle East. Fun fact. Again, another book you should probably pick up, Whoopi, the Bible. It might burn in your hands, but pick it up. That took place in the Middle East. Don't know if you know. That is where Jews come from. There are brown Jews, ma'am. There are very brown Jews. They're not specifically white. They're probably closer to Middle Eastern, especially the Israelites that are there now. The ones in Israel, they're pretty brown, pretty Middle Eastern looking. So yeah, Whoopi's a moron, Dave. And she got suspended. I don't know how long it is. I don't care how long it is, but she got suspended. Dave, what do you think about what Whoopi said, the suspension, all that good jazz?
Obviously, it was silly what she said. And my main thing is the suspension, because as we are both in tune to, we don't really like that stuff.
Nope.
And I don't like it here either. yeah, she said something pretty dumb. And she actually, I think, went on Stephen Colbert and kind of doubled down on it. I think she later released an apology. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I have the events wrong. Yeah. Maybe I have the events wrong, but I wouldn't mind seeing her on the show again. One, because she has the right to say what she wants, but also it is not a bad thing to find out what people think. Maybe even in like heated a moment arguments, you could say like she just said something stupid because whatever, she was arguing with Joy and, you know, she just said something ridiculous. I mean, she doubled down, so she obviously believes it more, but
yes,
I would like to see how she goes on from that point. Is she just going to triple down? Is she going to make some other type of argument there? It's always good to see where people go with these things and to find out where their headspace is. So that's why a suspension and the free speech aspect and just the I'm not entirely sure. I would say humanist aspect, but that's not really it. And just in multiple aspects is a problem for the company itself. They're obviously doing it to watch their own back. It's not something hidden. Yeah. We know that they're just watching their own back by suspending Whoopi here. And I believe it's a 2-week suspension.
I mean, they probably agree with her. That's the sad part.
She apparently is very angry and is threatening to quit. But I think that's just a rumor. I'm not entirely certain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, I don't think she should be suspended. I actually do kind of want to hear what she has to say now about it, because hey, you're in a pickle here. What are you going to do? It's very interesting to see what comes through a person when they're in some kind of situation like this.
Yeah, if you're a free speech absolutionist, then you really just don't want to stifle her speech at all, whether it's hateful, whether it's hurtful, whether anything. It's, you know, unlike the leftist belief, words are not violence. They're just words. They could have strong meanings behind them. They could bring about some emotional pain. It could hurt when people say words do, you know, they hurt emotionally, I guess. But she has the right to say what she has to say. And like you said, let people like her talk more, because then you find out who they really are. And you find out, okay, fuck that person. You know, then like you said, it backs her into a box and we could see what she really believes and what she doesn't. What she's espousing is, you know, Black liberation theology stuff, Black Hebrew Israelite stuff. And they're, you know, that's the Louis Farrakhan camp and people like that. So it's not a great camp to be involved in the fact that she's exposing herself to being involved in that. Like Dave said, let her have at it. They shouldn't have suspended her at all. Let her come back the next day and let her and Joy go at it. And, you know, and Joy's a moron too. For once, she was actually on the right side, but Joy is anything else but joyous. The woman needs to change her name to Scorn, because she is just a scorned, angry, dye red-haired woman, because she's not a happy individual. But for once, she was at least seemed like a human for 5 minutes when she was like, how can you say that the Holocaust wasn't about race? Like, it's a stupid statement on its face too. It's just dumb.
And the thing is, it's just, it's so weirdly, wildly inaccurate.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're a Black Hebrew Israelite, you're going to believe something like that though, because they weren't even the true Israelites. So you don't care about that.
That is true. That's a whole other backstory.
But this is kind of what she's espousing there. You know what I mean? That's
what it seems like. Yes, at least it seems like. But it's just so wildly and weirdly inaccurate that that's also why I kind of want to hear more. It's just like, how did you get to this thinking?
Is she going to go Nick Cannon?
No, I mean, possibly.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that's nice about Whoopi Goldberg, from what we know about her in the past, she's not going to keep quiet for these 2 weeks. So we probably will find out how she actually feels. She already went on Colbert. She's probably going to make the rounds on every single of the leftist late night shows, because they love this shit. So they're going to bring her on. They're going to let her double, triple, quadruple down. And then guarantee Dave, it's going to turn into something of bravery. She is a brave Black woman speaking out against oppression that's being held down on her from a suspension. It's going to happen.
You know what? I will say that it is kind of brave to say something that easily disprovable.
Brave or stupid, brave or ignorant. Like it's not. If you don't know any better, though, it's not bravery. If you're just a moron, that's not bravery. It's just stupidity. So
I think they're surprisingly similar things in some ways and sometimes.
Well, yeah,
but I don't think we need to.
You look brave from the out looking in. Like the person that thinks a garden snake is, the garden snake is actually like reverse it. A deadly poisonous snake is a garden snake and walks right up to it to grab it. People on the outside looking in are like, dude, that dude is ballsy. He's just going after that snake. He must know what he's doing. Then he gets bitten and he dies. And it's like, no, the guy's just fucking stupid. That, it's kind of, that's kind of where you're getting at, I guess, with bravery and ignorance kind of overlapping a little bit there. But so we're going to see what goes on with Miss Goldberg there. And is she a Miss? I don't think Whoopi Goldberg's married. So Miss Goldberg?
I'm not sure. I don't know up with popular couple relationship things.
I don't think you do that. I'm actually convinced that you do not keep up with, what do you have, your E! News Digest?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have E. I have what's the
TMZ?
Yes, TMZ. There you go. I follow TMZ.
You follow specifically though TMZ romance though.
Yes. Of course.
Oh, so I looked up who the token conservative on The View is. And apparently, as of December 30th, 2021, The View is struggling to find a new token conservative. So that was actually the title. So
that's not a surprise.
I mean, there's plenty of conservative women out there. They just don't want to be proven wrong constantly and daily. So they try to go after weak ones like Cindy McCain. Anyway, we're going to jump into the main crux of the show, which I guess stupidity with stupidity, it kind of relates because Justin Trudeau's a moron, which I've covered on my daily show when he faked having COVID-19. I'm convinced the man didn't have COVID. I'm convinced the man wasn't around COVID. I think he paid someone to give him a positive test because he flaunted one of those. But I'm not convinced he had COVID. It was too convenient that this douchebag got COVID-19 right when the convoy was coming around. But I gave I buried the lead there. The Freedom Convoy in Canada, better known as the Nazi Rally North. No. What it was, backstory here. Truckers, it started off as cross-border truckers coming from United States and Canada being pissed about the rules where going into Canada was difficult and you needed to have a vaccination. And it's not a pleasant process to get from the United States to Canada. You have to get a stupid app. You have to upload all your shit. They check your papers while you're at the border. It's a hassle to do your job. And as a trucker, if you are a career trucker and if you are a border crossing trucker like that, this is something that is now coming to a daily occurrence because your payloads are always new. Even though they might be the same exact payload you brought yesterday, it's a new load. So you still need to have new paperwork, new shit on it. And they're constantly checking. So it's annoying the truckers. And it started off as a rally against that. As the rally got more notoriety and news, it ended up just being an all-encompassing fuck the vaccine mandates, fuck all this stuff, end it now, and we will sit on Parliament Hill in Ottawa until you guys walk it back and cut the shit out. So they did. Surprisingly, they did. I think the final tally was 67,000 truckers ended up going to Parliament Hill, even with Justin Trudeau's attempts to block traffic and keep them out by basically turning every single bridge into Ottawa a one-lane bridge to try and convince them to turn around. But these truckers quite literally crawled, waited in traffic, partied while they were doing it, had a great fucking time, and eventually all got to Parliament Hill and have just been swamping the government region over there in Ottawa. Dave, you actually watched some live feed stuff from one of our favorite guys, Viva Frei. Talk about, what they kind of covered, anything that you heard there, what you saw there, because it's a pretty bizarre event in our current day of protest. It normally equals riot. And if you're on the left, it equals fuck this city. We're going to burn it to the ground. What happened there in the live streams that you saw?
So it was basically just like a man on the street kind of live stream where he was walking. He had it coming from, I believe, his phone, actually. But yeah. And he's just walking around the convoy, and it's hard to picture how big this convoy is. Let me just say he got directions from a guy that was walking out of the convoy as well. And he was like, yeah, this goes 10 kilometers down, full of trucks.
That's like 7 miles.
All
It's
trucks.
miles.
Yeah, like all the way down. Yeah, he's
It's
like,
miles.
if you go that
10K,
way, it's like
miles,
10 it's like 10 kilometers down of trucks. And then there was more like just the other way, and that was more into Ottawa. There's like kind of split up. There's a bunch of convoy like basically in Ottawa. There's a bunch of convoy basically outside of Ottawa. And so he's just doing regular man in the street stuff, and he's walking basically into the city when I was like catching up into it. And he's just meeting person after person after person. Some of them like kind of don't mind being on camera. Some of them rather not, because he has a bunch of people actually that watch his channel. So if you don't want to be in the internet, I get it. And honestly, it just seemed like the nicest people in the world. I guess it's Canada, it's Canadian, so it's like a
Canadian,
stereotype. Yeah. Like they're cleaning up trash. They're like shoveling the sidewalks from the snow. One guy brought donuts. So I will say the one thing that a lot of Ottawans are complaining about, all of the honking is true. It is a lot of honking, and they do not care. They do not care how much you complain. They're going to keep honking because they're there for a reason. These truckers actually mean what they're saying. And that's what's scaring Trudeau, and that's what's scaring those on Parliament Hill. So the most of the live stream was just showing what the streets look like. It was full of people, and they had multiple speakers come up and give like little speeches and everything. It's wild to witness something like that, because it means something not only for Canadians to do a protest like that, but for Canadians to decide, I'm staying here. You're going to have to kick me out. You're going to have to forcefully remove me from Ottawa. And these truckers spend all day in their truck anyway, so they do not care. They will make you move them unless you actually lift the mandates. So this is an event that I think everyone should be paying attention to. I believe I just saw that actually there was a GoFundMe for the truckers, I believe, for their defense fees. And there is like millions of dollars raised. And if I remember correctly, GoFundMe froze the account.
Of course they did.
So, yeah, no, these truckers not only, I believe, need your attention, but they need your support. And I'm going to warn you right now, there's the possibility that there is a U.S. trucker convoy as well to a vaccine mandate going from California to Washington, D.C. They're setting it up. And if it does happen, if people actually join that convoy, if you think we have supply issues right now, you better be prepared. Because just like the Canadian truckers, if these truckers mean business, they will not leave until they are forced to leave, until their demands are met or they're forced to leave. And it's just one industry you really don't want to mess with. It really is, because they really are the backbone. They're like the neural network of your country. They're all over the place, and they're giving you what you need.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So whether or not if the U.S. convoy actually happens, and whether or not they actually even get into D.C., because D.C. might be fully prepared for it and might decide like no one's getting in, no trucks getting in. They'll be outside of D.C. I live not very far from D.C. I'm like a 50-minute drive.
Yep.
So I may actually see some of this depending on where I'm driving to, if it does happen. I don't know. I'm fully in support of all this. I'm not going to lie to you. I think if we all talk about making a stand on both sides of the aisle. Honestly, everyone talks about, oh, you need to make a stand. You need to make a stand. People are making a stand, and you're going to complain about it. I just don't think that's what you do. You need to understand what these people are here for and what they want to happen. All they want is the vaccine mandates to be lifted. They're not asking for much more. They're just saying, don't have these mandates in place. And it's ridiculous, because they basically just drove the president out of Canada. Well,
Prime Minister,
Prime Minister. Yeah, the Prime Minister out of his seat. Yeah, honestly. I know I've seen the joke around that it's Truckistan now, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So I'm all for the honks. I'm all ready for the honks. I don't know if DC is ready for the honks. I know Ottawa is tired of the honks.
Yes, they are.
But it's going to continue.
So I read a whole bunch of coverage about this, and the leftists, of course, are only covering like the very few knuckleheads that are there out of the probably at its peak, damn near 100,000 people. Because you got to think 67,000 truckers plus the protesters that were already there meeting them in Ottawa. Maybe it'd probably be, I think it's safe to say it would be close to that number.
I would just say 70,000. Just say 70, that because that's a lot anyway.
Yeah. So that's 70,000 people there, and they're trying to cover it only one sort of way. I did see one thing that was extremely interesting, that if you're Trudeau, the last thing you want to use is the military to push these people out, because that looks bad. You already look weak as it is by leaving, but that would look terrible. The police seem to be sympathetic. From what I've seen, what I've read, they're suspecting the police are sympathetic, which is why they're not moving in or doing anything. You could see some police talking to some of the truckers. So it doesn't seem like they're willing to stop this, because it's a peaceful protest. This is a civil unrest at its best.
Yeah, as long as they're just sitting there, the police aren't going to do much.
As long as they're just sitting there and just having a good time and not doing anything disorderly.
They're playing hockey.
Yeah, well, it's Canada. Come on now. But so one thing I saw, though, and that they said would be as bad as it is, as bad as it could be, is there was enough truckers there, and there still are enough truckers there, because I think it said they dwaddled down to about 5,000 to 18,000 is like the estimated range of people left. Still a lot of trucks. They said that if they try to block them out, there's enough trucks there to basically form a blockade and to make sure supplies cannot get in or out of Ottawa. And that now becomes, you are basically declaring war on your citizens at that point. And that is the best way to win a war, is to suffocate them. So, as terrible as that sounds, and we don't want it to come there, I don't know if Canadians are ready to do that, because they are nicer than Americans in a lot of ways. They're just nice people. If they get pushed out, they just might be like, oh, well, we'll just kind of hang out longer and pick a new spot to go fuck around. Like they might, I don't know if they're going to do the blockade route, because that is cruel. And I don't know if Canadians, and especially truckers who are usually, are more free-minded thinking people, would want to do that to the innocents there. But that's a possibility. But right now, Trudeau, I've seen a lot of people saying Trudeau has to step down. He has to. He fled in a time of need. He's not leading the government when, the Liberal Party's fully there. The Liberal members, they have not fled. They've gotten threats, but they have not fled. They're showing up to work. All the Conservatives are there showing up to work. I know there's plenty of Conservatives that are on the floor calling for Trudeau to step down, because he's not there to do his job. And one of the things that I talked about the media, so there's an article on The Independent. I just want to cover some highlights, because this one, the headline is going to make you think that this is basically a BLM rally on the right, that there's violence, that there's pain, that there's people dying, that there's shit burning, that there's cars being flipped. Because this headline is this from The Independent: Gustav Killander. I like your fucking name. Gustav's an awesome name, dude. Wrote a stupid article, but great name. Canada Convoy. Police chief says all options on the table to end Ottawa vaccine mandate protest. And then the subheadline, quote, no matter where you live, no matter where your vehicle's registered, if you want to come here and commit a crime, you will be investigated. That is what they lead with. But then if you read the article, you get some quotes like, if we go down here, okay. It could have led to significant and severe injuries, and it could have led to the loss of life. That's what the police chief, I believe his name is Peter Slally. He said that, and then he said, none of that has occurred over the last 4 days. No riots, no injuries, no deaths. That is a measure of success for any jurisdiction in Canada, and quite frankly, anywhere in the world. So this has been extremely peaceful over 4 days of people at minimum 67,000 people at minimum, because that's the number of trucks. We could put that as a safe number, have been there, taken over the city. They've done it peacefully. The police have been there, as they should be, to make sure everything's good, but they've had no reason to work. And the left is trying to paint this as a Nazi rally, as a cultist rally, as anti-vax rally, as anti-freedom. They're calling the Freedom Convoy anti-freedom. And that's where you get the quote about all options on the table, from negotiation through enforcement. And there's been news saying that cops are willing to start trying to arrest truckers that won't vacate, trying to tow the trucks out of there, possibly use a crane if they can't tow the trucks. So it is starting to ratchet up and come to a point. We'll see if the truckers can hold off, because I fully believe their numbers have dawdled, because unlike the left, the people on the right had to go to work. So they left over the weekend and went to work. But there are a good amount of truckers still hanging there. God, I hope they're able to hang on till the weekend and this can balloon the fuck back up again and get even bigger. I would love nothing more than that, to see it get even bigger. But here is the number of investigations, Dave. You ready for this? How about this? Dave, I think I told you a number. Do you remember the number of investigations going on?
I believe you said 12.
12. Out of a minimum 67,000 big, angry, white supremacists, extremists, truckers, Nazis, 12 investigations underway for bribery, threats, dangerous driving, and assault. The assault one, I'm not down for, but assault can be as much as somebody shoving somebody else. It doesn't even, or somebody bumping into somebody and them going, hey, hit me. So we don't know what the assault is. It doesn't say aggravated. It doesn't say anything like that. Threats, fuck you, I'm going to kick your ass, get away from me. That's threat. Bribery, I'll give you money if you help me park here. These are some simple things. Again, it could be worse. Don't get me wrong. There's sleazebags in every single group. There are people, the left has made it a point of talking about how there was a single Canadian flag with a swastika on it. A single one. It happened to be, the idiot happened to be waving it behind one of the conservatives that did a speech on CBC TV, which has me convinced that guy isn't even a white nationalist, because we've seen the left do plants all the time.
The funniest thing was the guy that was waving a Confederate flag around.
Yeah.
And he was the only one fully masked up, like ski mask and everything, which, don't get me wrong, it could just be a really dumb person waving a Confederate flag around in Canada. But it's just the weirdest thing. And when people like noticed around him, they're like, what are you doing? Like, just get out of here.
That's what they want.
No one wants you here.
Even the small pocket of, if there were any white supremacists, obviously some of those morons try to latch on to right-leaning movements because they have no home. The left doesn't want to claim them because they are leftists, but they don't want to claim the collectivist as their own. But that's what happens at these rallies. It's like, dude, you're free to stay because we believe in it, but what the fuck are you doing? Put that away. What's wrong with you? Like, not what we want here at all. But that's what they're trying to latch onto. They're trying to latch onto that. And then another article I read, I don't know, let me see if I can find, but the general gist was they interviewed some of the people that live there, and they're just like, oh, we just want to be able to go back to work. The honking's loud, which the honking is loud, but there's a reason. They're trying to send a message to Parliament Hill. They're trying to send a message to those in Parliament and Justin Trudeau to end the shit. We're over it. We're done with the mandates. We did what you wanted. And they made it a point there to say, well, this doesn't represent the massive amount of truckers. 90% are vaccinated. Well, here's the fucking news here. If 67,000 were willing to go down there, there's a really good chance that a large swath of them are all vaccinated as well. And they are defending the freedom of the rest of the Canadian continent to not undergo this authoritarian bullshit. That's what it is. It's authoritarian. And with Trudeau shutting down bridges, authoritarian. There's no doubt in my mind that Joe Biden's going to ready the National Guard. Because what are they going to say, Dave, when the convoy approaches? The insurrectionists are back. AOC is going to go back to New York and be like, I swear I saw a pickup, an RV. I saw an 18-wheeler. It drove next to us. It's like, motherfucker, they were doing their job. Shut up. She's a moron. But anyway, yeah, this is it's an awesome development. I hope it continues to go on. I really want that convoy in America to happen. The last time they tried to do something like this, I think six 18-wheelers showed up in 2013. But It's a Facebook group that started. I think it was a Facebook group, and they are calling for like 90,000 truckers to show up.
I think that was deleted. Actually, Facebook deleted that group.
Clown show. Of course they did, but that's where it started. And then there were like non-drivers saying like, "Hey, we'll come. We got an RV. We're retired." And the truckers were like, "All aboard! I don't care if you're a four-wheeler. Jump in. All are welcome. Let's do this." So let's see what happens. Dave, this is a test though. You have guys like Elon Musk, who I love so much, saying that Canadian truckers are awesome, showing his support. That's really cool. But it's like this is really a test, Dave. This is a test to see where Western democracies go. Because don't get me wrong, Canada, these guys, I said it because I talked a little bit about the convoy. And what people don't realize, because we're Americans, Dave, we have the right to protest. We have absolute free speech under the First Amendment. Canadians don't. The government has a right to regulate hate speech. They have a right to regulate any speech that they consider to rally up violence. And they can shut these types of things down quickly. These guys are facing chance that when the police are going in to arrest them, they actually have a ground to arrest them because they don't have the First Amendment right. If they consider talking out against the government in this way as something that's dangerous to the public, they can arrest these people. And that's the scary part, Dave. As Americans, we're looking at the police saying we might come in and enforce, and we're like, enforce for what? They're not doing anything. In Canada, that's different. They don't have the same free speech rights that we have there, Dave.
Well, and that's what makes it so annoying as an American. Yeah, it makes it so annoying as an American to watch the Canadians kind of do this first. It's like, damn, we're supposed to be, you're freedom-loving people. Yeah, you're star. Yeah.
My freedom.
And they beat us to it. So that is probably actually why the Americans want to do a convoy, because they're like,
and they want to make it bigger. Of course, the Americans are like, we need 30,000 more.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be shown up by Canada. It's ridiculous. And I mean, there are people that were joining the Canadian convoy.
Yeah, there were Americans going in there.
They were coming up and joining because they support the cause.
Yep.
But I think now Americans are like, yeah, no. We need to be the bigger convoy.
So I request for whatever they decide to name their own convoy in America. If this happens and it does get big, which I think the inspiration of Canada might actually make this be legit. Even if it's not the 90K, even if it's like 50, 40,000, that's a huge number. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be the 67. It could just be another big number. Mm-hmm. But if this does happen, what they need to do to show, and I'm going to use the term, Dave, I'm going to use the lefty term to show solidarity with those in Canada. What they need to do is as they stand at the White House, they need to get a giant group and fucking sing "Oh Canada" as loud as they can at the White House gate. Sing "Oh Canada" as loud as they can, live stream it just to show those Canadian truckers, rock the fuck on. We are with you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would actually be pretty awesome.
As many people as you can, thousands together singing "Oh Canada." Mm-hmm. The whole thing. Mm-hmm. Learn it, you bastards. And that to me would sit there and send the message that, you know what, even though leftists have the upper hand, they have the upper hand right now. They have a lot of the censorship bullshit in media. People are waking up. Mm-hmm. Their stupidity is red pilling a lot of people because they're doing it too soon. Neither country's ready for it. Mm-hmm. Neither country's ready. So they're doing it too soon. A lot of people are red pilling. If something like that happened, it would open up a lot of people's eyes and would at least let Canada know, like, we're together on this. And it would also let some of the neocons know your time is fucking done. Mm-hmm. There's true conservatives out there that are willing to stand up and fight against this shit. Either get on board or switch parties. Just get the fuck out. We don't want you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and we'll see. But if you made it this far, the main takeaway is
you better have made it this far.
To what's going on. Exactly. Pay attention to what's going on in the Canadian convoy. Pay attention to what might happen here in the U.S. These are things that will probably affect you. The Canadian one, not maybe not so much, but seeing as it might be spawning an American one, it will. And I don't know if you think differently, but I know I support the convoys.
Yes,
I know
100%.
Alex supports the convoys. If you do support them, whether you give money or you just say something good and you spread the word about the convoy, do whatever you feel is best, or just, I don't know, if you just want to send thoughts and prayers, that's fine. If you're religious, like anything that you could think of. But this is something that needs to be focused on. This is something that's really, really big. There's a lot of really big things to focus on.
Yes.
This is one of them. This is one of them that's not being talked about a lot, but it deserves the news because it's going to affect you. It's really going to affect you.
And if you do decide to do this convoy and eventually end up at the gigantic rally, if this convoy is successful, because it will turn into a DC rally, 4 rules: be peaceful, call out feds, call out extremists, call out white supremacists, tell them all to get the fuck out of there if they are there.
I would say the 5th rule is also clean up after yourself.
Yes, leave it cleaner than you found it.
Leave it cleaner than you found it.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. David, you have anything else to add to end off here?
No, I support these peaceful demonstrations. And, unlike these some of the leftists that are actually saying, and it's funny, you'll find that most of the leftists that are mad about this are the ones that have money, that say they support the workers, but then when the workers go and actually protest, they're mad about it, especially when it's in their backyard. But I support this insofar as nothing has actually popped off here. I'll support anything where nothing actually comes about in a huge destructive way. So
absolutely. We both support this. I fully support it. And take note of how the right protests. Take note of how the right does it. Outside of January 6th, January 6th is still, there's a lot of fishy shit about January 6th. I'm not taking away from the people that trespassed. But again, you can't trespass in the people's house, so we're going to question that. But outside of January 6th, remember the Tea Party, as peaceful as it was, they tried to denigrate it and knock it down. The left is trying to denigrate this and knock it down. Look at the coverage. There's been no violence, no death, no burning of buildings, and they are calling this a cult rally and a Nazi rally. When BLM quite literally burnt cities to the ground, attacked DC, attacked monuments, nothing. They were fighting for a righteous cause. So continue to pay attention to the hypocrisy. Pay attention to what's going on. Like Dave's saying, try to multitask and pay attention to all the important things going on. ID.me, the digital passports, they're slowing down, but they're still going to try them. If you're in one of the 27 states, write to your congressman and your senator, get them the fuck out of there. And I'm talking about your state congressman and senator. Tell them to get ID me out of your state. Do those types of things. Be involved. Be active. And let's continue to fight for freedom and do the right thing. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, as always. As I always say, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Tell people about this. And on Twitter, find the Alex Cuesta Show. Type it in. You'll find us anywhere that's there. And yeah, that's going to round it out. David, will you be back next week, hopefully?
No.
David, will you be back next week?
Maybe.
All right. We'll see.
I'll have to pencil you in.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're so busy. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.